Brent here. Today, I wanted to share with you the importance of not to be blinded by authority or success. This is actually quite important, just because like a lot of people get influenced by some sort of like a popular figure or authorities, and then we get distracted, distracted our thinking process, and then believe in their ideas that are actually harmful or misleading or really nothing beneficial to your life. But just because somebody seems to have an authority or have an authority or have an aura of success, or actually they have succeeded in something, whatever they say or whatever the circle, that if you get there, you feel like you are rubbing off of their success. This is most of the case, right? I would say over 98% means it's like if you listen to just blindly whatever they say or whatever they do, or just associate with those type of individual without the right type of filter in your thinking, then you're gonna waste your time. So it is very natural for human beings to really just to drawn into it because we idolize, right? Like that's what most of people want to be. So it's called like halo effect. It could be like easiest things was like let's say if you're good looking, or like people tends to actually listen better. That's why like appearance is quite important. But then the real success, like people have a lot of money, a lot of accomplishment in their resumes, whatever they say seems like the wisdom. But then I want you to really understand this reality. The reality is the most people who became successful because they have a specialized knowledge, like very specialized things that they excel. So outside of their specialty, they're as good as you, or because they sacrifice their time and skills to such a small field that likely that their outside field is a lot less than you. It might be quite unbelievable that some people who makes millions or billions of dollars possibly doesn't know what they're talking about, and then have a less knowledge than you do, right? But it happens quite often. And then just because of that, it's just that their specialty brings them the wealth. I mean, there is some, things to learn from it, right? It means it's like, if you want to get to somewhere, you want to focus on one thing and get really good at it, taking like a decade of your time, likely. But then that sheer focus, specialization, obsession to a particular field of skills and knowledge, that brings them into a certain sort of success. But then here, the important thing is I want you, everybody here, like listening here, to actually get where you're at, want to be, want to go without getting distracted by or getting sucked into the wrong type of people. And another things I want you to understand is like people who are successful does not mean that they have a good character. It means this, I understand many, but quite a few successful people have a chip on their shoulders. Just imagine a lot of those successful likely are very nerdy. I was quite nerdy when I was a kid, personality wise. I was introvert, that type of things. But there are a lot of times these type of personality during high school, middle school, whatever, they weren't that popular. I got bullied. And then some people could not really get over that fact that they'd been through such a hard time. And then those people, even though they become very successful, they feel insecurity or hold some kind of grudge against, the world itself. And then if you don't quite understand this stuff, just because you're successful, you're always happy, or you're generous or something, or always for looking up for whenever they give you advice, they're going to look out for you. Oftentimes, you're going to get really disappointed. A lot of times, what they do is to keep their authority or keep their ego higher than you, right? So let's say if you are associating with somebody, like trying to kind of get advice or wisdom or some sort, those people may actually, maybe unconsciously, right? Because they might not really realize they have that insecurity thing going on. They might divert you to the wrong path. That's a danger. So you really have to actually understand who you're actually talking to. As Warren Buffett said, 3 things you need for success, like intelligence, energy, and character, right? But that's when you're in a more towards like idyllic situation. I mean, if you have those, the most of the time it'll open up the most things, and genuinely that's the best course of the action. But then in reality, the reality is quite interesting. Reality is, if you have an intelligence and if you have energy, even if you don't have that character, you can actually go quite high. And it's just because the people without the character can actually hang out together. Okay, it's like associate with likes, and then they make a group, and the group actually create power. Some people get lucky as well. Cutthroat things actually works. I'm not sure how sustainable it is, but it works. And then if you are good enough to hide it, so I want you to really watch out. There's nothing you learn from these people just because they don't know. And then when you want to do that, then you just don't want to spend too much time on emulating somebody else's like a success path. You got to figure that out yourself, so to speak, and then get the some sort of like a wisdom here and there. So what I can really suggest is like just ask a few questions, even though somebody's like a mega success. Just don't blindly follow or get closer needlessly, because you will likely get hurt or misdirected for their own ego benefits. And then of course they have a lot more resources, so they can actually do quite a lot against you or for you. And then they'll likely use that. If they don't have a good character, they'll just hang that like, oh, you know what, like I got all these, whatever. They're not going to say obviously, but then a lot of people may do such a things. So just evaluate their advice, comment, character, not by the success that or money or resources, whatever that then they possess, but how they interact with you, how they speak to you, and that's a critical factor. And realize that no matter how much money they have, if they offer something for free, you got to be really watch out, because it is really important to understand in this world, nothing is free. Okay. And then really the corollary is that free is the most expensive things down the road. It might lose your initiative or motivation to do something for yourself. And then you might lose your opportunities just because you didn't go through the hardship that strengthened your character or develop your knowledge further. A generous person is trying to offer you something for free. It's better to, offer the other person that, okay, I don't want to take it for free. What can I do for you, right? And if there is no good exchange or the interest doesn't align, then it's better to walk away. If it's aligned, and that's the best part. Some of these people with a good character want to take care of you, really concerned about like listening to your situation, and if from your perspective give you great advice or guide in the road, that might actually accelerate. But the really idea is that it's not automatic. You really have to be careful, because charlatans are often the one that they believe they're omniscience. They become successful in one thing, and then they start thinking they know everything else, right? And then just because they're really good at one thing, and then they think they can treat everybody else like shit. I mean, there's unfortunately a lot of people like this. So just watch out. If you meet those, like, just walk away. There's a bunch of other people, and then you got to focus on your self. So it doesn't really matter, actually. And as long as you stay clear of the people with intelligence, energy, but questionable character, then your life is actually a lot better. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment your section, so help each other, and I'll see you next week.